Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the stories, experience, and challenges that shape who we have become. Today's guest is Weigand, a positive psychologist and creator of Psychosomatic Intelligence, a science-based framework that combines neuroscience, physiology, and nervous system mastering to help people perform at their best while actually feeling fulfilled. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show, Mas.
Thank you, Aaron, for having me. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so what were some of the challenges or experience that shape you into who you are today?
For me, the big turning point in my life actually came when I got what I always wanted, only to find that it didn't fulfill me. I remember I
Ooh.
was 17 at the time, and growing up, I was probably the least likely person ever to, talk to others about the signs of happiness and inner mastery. I was for many years struggling with anxiety, with depression, with a debilitating fear of talking to others. And at the time, I didn't know anything about, neuroscience or positive psychology. I didn't have yet the tools available that I now do. And so I was miserable, but I had this dream. I believed back then that if only I could become a professional runner, if I could, win races and set records, then somehow that would, finally make me worthy of my own self-love, of my own compassion. And finally, I could find some peace and happiness. And it was this day on a blazing hot summer day in 2013 when that dream came true. I ran at the German national championships, qualified for the national team, and it was like in one moment, all of those dreams that I had before, they suddenly came true. And I remember walking off the track, tears just flowing down my face of joy, because I thought, this is finally it, right? I can finally be happy. I can finally love myself. And again, the next day I woke up with rose-colored glasses and life felt so vibrant, so beautiful. And again, then a couple of days later, I woke up and I kind of looked around and I was like, where's that happy feeling, Where's that buzzy, fluffy thing? Like, it was all gone, right? And reality had returned. And that same gnawing anxiety and that voice inside that said, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, it had returned. And, if for any of our listeners, you've ever gone through an experience like that, where you pursued a goal for months or years, you sacrificed everything else, and then you finally achieved it only to not be happier because of it, then you can probably understand the frustration I felt in that moment of having literally wasted a few years of my life chasing the wrong thing. And so in that moment, I made a choice that would change my life forever. I vowed to study the science of happiness, to figure out, first of all, for myself, how I could step into greater peace and self-love. And then secondly, how I could share that with the rest of the world. And so that's why I'm so grateful to be on your show today, to hopefully spread some of the lessons and ideas that I've gained in more than a decade now of obsessively really studying the science of inner mastery.
Wow, that was a lot. What you actually always long for, you have it now, but still you still find the emptiness. What does that moment teach you about success?
What it teaches me is that, we have this, by the way. Like, the moment I then dove into the research in psychology, what I learned was that this experience is, in fact, a really common one. We call it in psychology hedonic adaptation. And it's our brain's ability to adapt itself to any outside circumstance or experience that we have. So if you just think back to the last time you bought that new phone, or you found a dream partner, or you achieved a really big goal, you got that raise, you bought that house, just think back to, first of all, how long you thought it would make you happy, and then secondly, how long it actually did. And chances are that the boost in happiness that you thought you would get is never quite as long, is never quite as grand as what you imagined it to be before. And so our brain has this incredible ability to adapt itself to both the good and the bad. Almost 50 years ago, researchers completely changed our understanding of happiness when they brought into the research lab two groups of people. The first one, lottery winners. So people that just won millions and they
Yeah.
can quit their jobs to travel the world and do whatever they want. The other group was people that just got in these horrible accidents and they're told you can never walk again. And so if we look at the happiness level, in the beginning, we see exactly what you would expect. The lottery winner on top of the world, and the paralyzed person obviously crushed to tears. But then it gets interesting, because about 3 months after winning the lottery, moment-to-moment happiness begins to plummet back to where it was before the accident. And about a year after getting in this horrible accident, the paralyzed person, their day-to-day and moment-to-moment happiness begins to rise back to the baseline that they experienced before the accident. And when I first learned about this research, it blew my mind. Because what this means is that none of the outside stuff, the circumstances, the things, the victories and losses that we so much desire and crave, or maybe fear and worry about, ultimately, over the long run, dictate our happiness. Something good happens, and for a while, you're gonna be excited. But then, dopamine, the molecule of desire that's responsible for this drive, that is responsible for motivating you every step along the way, and that skyrockets once you achieve it, it drops back down to its previous baseline. And you're kind of like, what's next? What's the next goal? What's the next thing I can do? And the same happens for negative experiences. Luckily, this is the positive side. Something bad happens, loss, a disappointment, defeat. And you're going to suffer for a while. But eventually, the brain learns to adapt. And it will upregulate again your happiness until you come back to your previous happiness baseline. And so what all of this really means is that pursuing happiness by chasing outside things, by trying to rearrange the external world, is a futile game. Because unless and until we turn inwards, we look at our thoughts, we look at our somatic physiological patterns, we cannot find lasting happiness or peace.
Wow, that was a really whole lot. Yeah, done adaptation. I think this really speaks volumes because I don't know what I was discussing with a friend the other day. It just seems to be, you might be longing for some kind of food, for some kind of stuff, and immediately you actually get that stuff and you get it, and you have it in excess. With time, you start longing for the big stuff again, being that you are now used to this particular one that it doesn't make sense anymore. And it just speaks volumes with you what you just make reference of the fact that, yeah, you long for success. Now you get the success, and then what next? And then it becomes your new normal, and then not to feel as though it was really really big deal anymore. Yeah, it's wow, it's really a whole lot. So you later created psychosomatic intelligence. For someone hearing about it the first time, what exactly does it mean, and why does it matter?
Beautiful question. So if we break it down, psychosomatic, first of all, psychology really
Yeah.
has to do with the mind. Specifically, the conscious mind, which is the rational part of our brain that thinks, that sets goals, that plans, that strategizes, as well as then secondly, the subconscious mind, where your habits and your beliefs are housed around what do I deserve? What am I capable of? Can I really do this? And so this is the psychological part. And so on the other hand, we have the somatic part from the ancient Greek word soma, meaning the body. And so this is all about how do I optimize my nervous system and my neurochemistry so my body isn't constantly hijacked in fight or flight, for example, or isn't constantly exhausted, but so that I can build a vibrant connection to the sensations in my body. So I can optimize my neurochemistry, so I can experience greater levels of dopamine. I call this the happiness dosage. Dopamine, the molecule of motivation and desire. Oxytocin, the molecule of love and connection. Serotonin, the molecule of fulfillment, contentment, the peace of being here now, of having arrived. Anandamide, the bliss molecule that's responsible for some of our best, the highest moments. GABA, the relaxation molecule, allows you to calm down when you're, after a great yoga session, for example. And lastly, endorphins, right? This, other excitement and also painkiller molecule that you experience when you're in the middle of a marathon, for example. It slows down or decreases the pain so you can keep pushing. And so the somatic aspect is really how do you create and cultivate and sustain then higher levels of these happiness chemicals inside your body and brain so that you simply feel better inside your body. Psychosomatic intelligence, then, is your ability to optimize both the mind and the body to feel better so you can live better and perform better. Now, what this really
Wow.
looks like is a system that I've developed, which kind of looks like a pyramid. If you think back to Maslow's pyramid of needs, that allows you to decode exactly where, on which level basically of consciousness you're sabotaging yourself. Starting with the conscious mind. Do you have a vision that actually inspires you and a clear strategy to achieve that, right? And this is where most of our, attempts at goal achievement live, right? What research shows is that when people set New Year's resolutions or goals, around 92 of them fail. Which means that only 8%, about 1 in 10 of the goals that people set actually end up succeeding. And why is that? Because people try to achieve goals with their conscious mind also. They say, I really want to achieve this. And they make a plan, right? And that's great first step. But the problem is that the conscious mind is only responsible and in charge of around 5% of our decision making. Most of our decisions, in fact, around 95%, happen in the subconscious mind and the nervous system. These are the parts that actually decide whether, you go from saying I want to do this to then actually doing it. And what happens is most of the time there's this inner dissonance, this inner conflict, where your conscious mind says, I want to lose some weight, or I want to run this marathon. But your subconscious mind might say, I really love chocolate chip cookies,
Yeah.
running this marathon, that sounds really painful. It really, cost me a lot of energy to come out of my comfort zone. Or, I come from a family where we're not runners, right? And so the subconscious beliefs might directly contradict your conscious desire. And when that happens, that's when our need for willpower rises. Willpower, this idea of willpower we've built in our society is that if you don't achieve your goals, then you're simply not tough enough. And from a psychological perspective, nothing could be further from the truth. Because what happens is, or what it really means is, when you need willpower, when you need self-control, what you really have is a self-conflict. Self-control is really just self-conflict dressed up as virtue. One part of you wants something, another part of you wants something else, and the two parts fight against each other. And that's why most of us set goals only to fail to achieve them. Because they have not yet updated the subconscious mind, or the nervous system might say, hey, this is really scary. This could be painful. So let me, stay in my comfortable bubble in which I've been living my whole life. Because again, the number one task and purpose of the mind is not to make us happy or successful. It's to keep us alive, to ensure our survival long enough to pass on our genes. From an evolutionary perspective, that's the only thing the brain really cares about.
Wow, that was really a whole lot of insights. Actually, more like I'll dive in here. So, yeah, the nervous system and a whole lot of things, mean that every of them actually get to speak volumes, and it's really a whole lot. So, you talk about aligning the three layers of psychomantic system, which is the conscious goal, the subconscious programs, and the nervous state. How did these three interact in our daily life?
Beautiful question. So the way these three systems interact is, if, for example, you set a conscious goal of, I want to build more loving relationships in my life, right? And so you make a strategy. You say, okay, twice a week, I'm going to go to social events or, running clubs or whatever it is that you like to do. And so you have a conscious strategy. But then you go to those events and you have an unconscious belief that men are evil, or women are untrustworthy, or strangers are dangerous, or you really can't trust people. And you might have picked this up from childhood, from what your parents, your teachers, your friends told you. You might have picked this up from a past relationship where, you meet a certain kind of person and that person really hurts you. And what happens is then you meet that next person, right? And you want to start a romantic relationship, for example. But the memory of the past, it keeps moving to the new person, and you begin to associate and project all of those old fears and beliefs onto that person, treating them as if they were what you think they are. And so from a subconscious perspective, those beliefs might actually hinder your ability to truly connect. And then we have the nervous system coming into play. which is really about the psychosomatic state that you experience. And now maybe you can, just think about this also, and also for our listeners. When you're in a loving and happy and peaceful state of mind, do you talk to others? Do you, treat others differently than when you're anxious or afraid or
Yeah.
angry?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's like two different people. And so if we don't manage to align our nervous system and the states that we experience with our conscious goals, then what might happen is you want to be loving. You want to be in a loving relationship. You want to have peace and happiness. But if you're not living in peace and happiness and love, it's impossible to create that in an external relationship. And so most people focus on a conscious level of goal achievement. But what we really have to do is we have to go below. We have to look at our beliefs and all the limiting beliefs that we might have around what we deserve and what we're really capable of. And we have to look at our nervous system. We have to recognize that if I want love, I first have to become an embodiment of love. If I want peace, I first have to embody peace. If I want abundance, I first have to embody abundance. If I want great health and fitness, then I first have to embody that inside of my mind and my body. I have to walk around and think like an athlete. I love working out. I love moving my body. I love eating healthy food and the way it fuels me. Because if you don't, right, let's think about the difference between an athlete and a non-athlete. They might have the same conscious goal of, I want to be fit and in shape. But if the non-athlete has these beliefs of, working out sucks, it's painful, it's hard, it's sweaty, it's difficult. What does the athlete think? Oh, it's so much fun. I love meeting my friends to, have a good sweat, right? I love feeling my muscles burn. It's the same exact experience, only their interpretation, the thoughts and beliefs they have around it is completely different, which then changes whether you think of movement as the greatest thing on earth or as something to run away and hide from. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, Jerry. At one point, I didn't know when you get to stop being that. It was, yeah, it stands still at one point. Yeah, thank you so much. This is really lovely being that you being able to kind of make the three layers together: the conscious goal, the subconscious program, and the nervous system. I think the amazing stuff in here is the fact that you just struck a particular chord which make reference of reviewing our belief system to get to know what we have come to believe, what to perceive, and everything being that, yeah, we cannot talk about joyfulness or giving into order if we are not a person of joy, if we are not a person of love. Yeah, so beyond just more like having more like a conscious goal from what he said, it just speaks volumes to beyond having the conscious goal. Yeah, review your belief, have some core belief that actually more like speak volume in respect of that. That very way you get to kind of, live it out, not just fake it. And it's really amazing. Person so a lot believe willpower is key to success. From your research, why do willpower often fail and what work better?
That's such an important question because as a culture, we've kind of turned willpower into this go-to mechanism for goal achievement. But again, willpower is really nothing more than self-conflict dressed up as virtue. And the problem with willpower is, by the way, willpower is a great thing, right? And the research shows that the more willpower you have, the better your life tends to be. It's just that it's not the be-all, end-all mechanism that we can use to really change our lives. Why? Because willpower is a limited resource. When you wake up in the morning, you have the maximum available. Kind of like a video bar, the video or the game in the life bar in a video game. You have everything available. And then every single choice that you make throughout the day, around should I hit the snooze button or get out of bed? What should I eat? What should I wear? How should I get to work? Should I resist the chocolate chip cookies or not? Should I go work out or not? Every single one of these choices takes away some of that precious willpower. Until in the end, usually, in the evening, people are left in the state called ego depletion, where essentially all the willpower is gone and you're just exhausted. And what happens in that state when there's no more willpower left, but the conflict is still there, that's when we make bad choices. That's when, crime happens. That's when people, engage in all their bad addictions, alcohol, drugs, junk food, social media marathons, whatever it is, because there's conflict that we haven't resolved yet, but the willpower is gone. And so willpower is a great kickstarter. It's kind of like adrenaline in the body. You don't go and run an ultra marathon on adrenaline. Adrenaline gives you energy and power for a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, but then you fade away, right? And so using willpower to achieve your goals is like trying to run an ultra marathon on adrenaline. You have a really great start, right? You're going to be sprinting, going all out, but then you have a really bad finish and you probably quit the race or the goal that you've chosen for yourself. And so what we really want to do, instead of just relying on willpower, we want to ask ourselves, why do we even need willpower in the first place? Like, what is it inside my subconscious mind or my nervous system states that makes this difficult? What do I believe about love, about health, about exercise, about friendships, about abundance, about success, about my business, about myself that is standing in my way? Do I think working out is hard? Well, I'm never going to work out if, working out is the devil inside my mind, right? Do I believe love is scary? Well, it's going to be really hard to find love. Do I believe I don't deserve abundance? Well, it's going to be really hard to actually attract abundance and take the steps towards it.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Mas. Yeah, this is really lovely, especially how you define willpower. I think from the conversation, it just speaks volumes too. Willpower can get the goal started, but it cannot sustain it in terms of long term. It can only more like being the energetic power that just gets started over some few minutes. If at the subconscious level the programs there is not set right in terms of your belief, in terms of your core values, in terms of who you are deep down, the goals is not wouldn't be achievable, being that willpower alone cannot take you out that very far. And I think it's just more like saying motivation cannot take you that very far compared to when you get to redefine a whole lot of stuff and then you are running from it owing to the values and visions you actually have. Other than a few seconds of motivation, you want to jump into any trend. Yeah, that is not sustainable. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Mas. So, Mas, if someone wants to upgrade their inner operating system, what would be the first step towards developing psychosomatic intelligence?
The first step really always starts with awareness. The great psychologist Carl Jung said that
Awareness.
until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And so if the same pattern keeps repeating itself again and again in your life, the same toxic relationship, the same pattern of self-sabotage, then it's time to start looking inward. And it's time to figure out what is it inside of me that is causing this external event. Because outer reality is merely a reflection of our dominant state of consciousness. And so if I keep having troubles out there, there's really something inside of me that I have to address so that fate doesn't keep recurring again and again and again. And so I can look here at those beliefs. One of the easiest things I like to do with people is, and for our listeners, you can just do this right here, right? You simply finish the following sentences. Life is. And then just the first thing that comes to mind, you say it out loud. Life is. Now, is life a game? Is life a war? Is life beautiful? Is life meant to be lived? Is life a struggle? Money is. And again, is money evil? Is money beautiful? Is money a tool? Is money well-deserved? Is money abundant? Well, whatever you're going to believe about money is going to dictate how you act towards it. Love is. Well, is love beautiful and abundant, or is it scary and painful? That's going to determine how you approach your relationships, right? Health is. And again, is it difficult? Is it fun? And so you can play this, with any number of areas of your life.
I got a whole lot about the insight. Awareness is more like the beginning where you get the solution done. That's when you become aware, over time you can learn live out from your subconscious. Yeah, which make it more lovely, being that you're not just reacting, you're not just more like taking any tip of saying living from a conscious goal, but the fact that internally in there you're a person of love, so you naturally live out by loving people. You're a person of faith. It's easier for you to have faith in things, but that is who you are. And yeah, it's really amazing. And yeah, this conversation is really amazing. So man, some audience who would love to kind of dive deeper, who want to reach out to you, either for your service or to connect with you on various media, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
So the best way is via my website, psychosomaticintelligence.com. You can find a free PSQ test there to actually measure those different skills, as well as a free masterclass to dive even deeper, and otherwise on social media at Max Weigand.
Oh wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Mas, this has really been more like an insightful section owing to how to achieve our goals and aspirations. Not just from fake it till you make it. Yeah, but living it out. The journey just reminds us that success is not just about reaching goals. It's about aligning the mind, body, and emotions so that achievement can actually bring fulfillment. If you like to measure your own psychomantic intelligence and learn how to improve it, you can actually take Mass Free PSQ test. The link is going to be on the show notes. Thank you for listening to the making of me. Once again, it's a pleasure and honor have you on the show, Mass.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.